Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, hello and thank you for tuning into this very special episode of Your Neighborhood's Best. You know who we are. I'd like to get this episode started. It's very special because we have a guest tonight. Allie, would you like to introduce yourself? And
Hey,
what it is you do?
yeah, my name's Allie. So I am from a group called North Texas Paranormal. Or NT Paranormal, we normally went by. And yeah, it's exactly how it sounds. We need to go and hunt ghosts.
That's cool. So like what kind of got you started into that? Like what sparked the interest?
I was always interested since I was like a kid. I was kind of a creepy I was always into stuff like that. Like I always, was into supernatural, paranormal, like anything weird.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of my childhood with Robert Stack and Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I used
that music's still in my head. Yeah, I still watch them. I like I watched the old ones and it's all update and it's like, oh hell yeah, they found that guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I enjoy it. I especially enjoy I like the new ones too, but it's just not the same without Robert Stack.
They changed the music up,
and they don't have really a host, right? It's just like
no, they don't because and honestly, I think that's the most respectful thing they could have done.
Well, they had Lou for what was that guy's name?
Lou Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno.
No, Lou something. He's like the mob. He always plays like a mob guy, not the Hulk, but he's a guy with white hair. He hosted it for a while.
Huh.
Oh yeah, like I know he hosted like back in the day. I know. I could picture who you're talking about. I don't know the name.
Yeah, I forget his name. His name's Lou something, but yeah, I forget.
But yeah, like I don't know. Like I just always found an interest in that and anything kind of weird and macabre. I used to draw pictures of aliens abducting my sisters and give it to my sisters.
Yeah.
Be like,
we love them, don't we?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm the youngest, so, they were kind of, so but yeah, it was something that I found fascinating from the time like I was a young kid.
Being abducted out of your window?
Oh, by alien? No, it was always a field.
I was always concerned about that, growing up, to be honest with you.
It was a real fear. I had to take the trash cans out.
It really
on Fridays,
was.
And I used to have to run to the door real quick because I knew they were like right behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whenever you got to run through the hall and turn every light off as you go, so they can't get you.
Yeah, the TV lineup was you'd watch The Simpsons, and then sightings would come on, and then the X-Files, and then it was then my dad would be like, "All right, go take the trash out," and I was like, "Oh my god, dude!"
It's I'm not going outside. You're crazy.
So you actually you actually go and investigate. You actually go on site and hey, look, here's a haunted prison. Let's go.
Yes, and yeah, and we've done a prison. We did the old jail, the old Hood County Jail in Granbury, Texas. I mean, granted, it hadn't been used in years. We did. That was probably one of our last ones that we did before the pandemic.
Did you see anything significant there? Or?
I don't want to say I didn't really see anything as much as we got some interesting EVPs, we got some voices, stuff like that. What is
EVP?
Electronic voice phenomena. So basically, I mean, most of it, and not to kind of take away from what we do, but basically a lot of what we do is talk to empty rooms in the dark.
So you guys ever take a medium with you, or is it just the equipment?
No, we just use equipment. We never used mediums or empaths or anything like that. And nothing against that. I'm not here to say that they, are real or not real. It's just that wasn't the philosophy. That wasn't our way, I guess to say. Like we tried to take as much of a scientific approach to it as possible. Like as far as like, okay, well, here's what it is, here's what it's not, here's what it could be, kind of approach.
Do you guys carry like a lot of equipment, or is it just like a couple each?
No, we took extensive equipment, because we would have like CCTVs that we would set up. Like it would take us a good couple hours to set up for each
Wow.
investigation. Like we had multiple cameras. We had we even had like trail cameras, like what you would use like hunting. We would use like trail cameras, we would use like CCTV, like we had like a whole setup, and we'd always have like one person manning like the security cams. Well, and we kind of took turns like going to different areas, like doing different things like EVP. We did photographs, we did a lot of the photographs, I was the one who did our photos and stuff. Like, so I would use a lot of different types of lighting technique. So we did a lot of like mono wavelength. So basically I would just use like one color, like red or blue or purple or whatever, like to, so like, cause that way we could isolate, like if basically like dust or orb, essentially.
So you guys
because like
the one that has like lasers, or kind of like a bunch of little spots, and show you like stick figures.
Yeah, we use those too.
Okay. Have you ever seen anything like pop up?
No, I personally haven't. The guy that we worked with, his name is Ashton. He said like he had like an experience or two with that. But I personally have not seen anything in those. I just think they're pretty neat.
Yeah, so
do you come from mostly like a skeptic like background? Like do you like pretty much well, first of all, how do you find your cases? Like do people hit you up and say, hey, I heard this, or do you
so when we first started, we the cases that we got, or like the stuff that we got was, now we didn't exactly have permission to be where we were being at first.
Okay. So we'll loosely talk about but you checked out some stuff just on your own at first?
Yeah, at first, and then once we we started filming and stuff like that, we actually had we met quite a few people who were like, hey, you need to check out this, or hey, come check out my house, or and then we actually started getting invited to places. And
was
that's how we
anything like super? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was anything super convincing? Like you ever go to one where it's like, whoa, that place is haunted for sure?
So there is one place that we went to that I'm pretty sure like you can't pay us to go back to.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's beautiful during the day. Like it was a beautiful, beautiful place. So we actually were just, but seriously, yeah, by night it was creepy.
So let me set the
There's
stage
a lot
for
of
you.
places. But there's there's a ton of little small towns around here. And so just outside of a town called Rio Vista, there's a cemetery called Kyle Cemetery. And we were actually just kind of driving around. We weren't doing anything that night. And we're like, you know what, let's do a debunking video. We were going to do a video where we debunk certain things. And we were going out there to do that, and we were doing our normal setup and doing EVPs, because we were at the cemetery, and it's this really rural cemetery, and it's and like I said, just beautiful during the day, absolutely beautiful. But but we were out there and it had gotten dark, and we were
Is
and
that it? That doesn't look like a cemetery.
and we were
Real
but it was
Vista.
getting dark, and you know, and there's a bunch of coyotes and stuff out there, which is normal, you know, it's Texas. So but like out of nowhere, it just felt like we were like surrounded on all sides by like coyotes.
Oh man.
Like they were
Yeah,
all
coyotes
howling.
that can be a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was,
definitely
yeah,
running past.
especially, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, because we're not, you know, we're not brave people, but like we they so but it was just like all we heard was just howling and howling and howling, and like it was just like all directions, like all around us, just howling. And then out
That's
of
set
no,
the mood
like
quicker.
as oh yeah, I know. And then almost as soon as it started, it just stopped suddenly, just suddenly. And like it was just almost like, you know, they were there and then they just disappeared. And then we started hearing some rustling, and there's like, you know, some trees and stuff like that against the fence line. Heard some rustling. We're like, great, you know, there they fucking are. We're about to get, you know, killed by coyotes. And
This is it.
this is it. This is the end. But what ended up happening was like, you know, it just so our friend Ashton started walking towards the fence line because I don't know. And he started walking towards the fence line, and like we heard what sounded like a puppy. And like so naturally me and my friend were like, well, we gotta go save this puppy because we're idiots. And
Well, you know, screaming puppy at night.
I know, right? And you know, we were just it's probably the dumbest thing you could ever do. And the closer we got to the fence, it just sounded darker. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Darker?
Like, yeah, like it then went from like a puppy like bark to like growl. Like
Oh, so it got
not
like
just
deeper,
like a
heavier.
yeah,
like a
it got
werewolf.
clear. Yeah, and then so
Think a werewolf.
you know, like you know, and then
Shapeshifter.
like you know, and then so we kind of jumped back. We're like, what the fuck, you know? And there was like this like little area where there was like a clearing, and my friend my best friend Eli, he jumped back and he was like, holy shit, did you see that? And I'm like, what? And I look over and all I see, and it's like tall, like I don't know how tall, but all I know is it's definitely like it was tall, was just a white face.
Shit.
And it was kind of looking
Like
in like this.
Like
Tail?
Slender Man.
Kind of, but
Slenderman's not white face.
but it wasn't, I don't want to say
Abominable
Slenderman because
Snowman.
like I would say more than anything it was closer to like Skinwalker.
Yeti.
James is
Oh.
pretty tall. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever heard James.
He's a skinwalker.
What if Yeti? What if Yeti and the Abominable
You know.
Snowman and Bigfoot were really flesh skin suits for time travelers? That's all I've been trying to theorize out there. That's
Oh,
my
I like
original
that
thought.
theory. I've
We
heard you
can
say it.
share it, and it's out there. It's just a suit that they goes
Like a spacesuit.
and then like they travel in organic material to get to where they gotta go.
That could
Well, I
make
don't know
sense.
about all that, but I do know that there's a lot of Native American legends out that way, and it used to be like we ended up doing research on the area after, and there was like a huge battle between two different Native American tribes and settlers out there.
Oh wow.
And supposedly they cursed the land, and there's like a ton of like a lot of people claim to have seen skinwalkers out there, like and stuff like that. And so I don't know, it was one of those.
Do you
That's
like
crazy.
I'm
ghost
sorry?
adventures?
Wow.
Because that's the first time I've ever heard of skinwalkers. Like when I seen that show, I'm not sure if you know it. Like it's called Ghost Adventures, but it does like the skinwalkers tend to like also shapeshift, no? Or am I,
Yeah,
shape-shifting.
and see, like the thing is, like, yeah, and they turn like so. As Legend would have it, they would turn into like a loved one or something like that, and like kind of take over and be evil, you know. So, but
But are
so
most
like,
of them evil? Are most of them evil?
Mischievous.
That's a magnificent
kind
background,
of, I
John.
think mischievous would definitely be the better word for it. Kind of like, you know, like a trickster.
Right.
I heard they were mean, like they can kill you.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you remember,
I guess certain
Yeah.
legends in different areas probably.
Yeah,
They could actually
but
like you could pick up something and like stab you. Like that's what.
No, fucking eat you, bro.
Oh shit!
It's a monster, bro. Like, but yeah, I heard because they have Skinwalker Ranch too. But that's like a,
That's in Utah, right?
yeah, it's a piece of land where it has like huge UFO activity and obviously
yeah,
skinwalkers. They say dinosaurs even, but they think there might be just like a portals to like other dimensions there where that you know I guess they have to like jump, maybe it's those suits you're talking about, James, like 5 guys in a fucking Stegosaurus suit walking out, like, all right, Ace Ventura,
It's like Ali, as far as like paranormal ghosts, do you think they're actually ghosts of people that have passed away, or do you think it could be somewhere as going into like a dimension of a being in another dimension, kind of slipping in between?
So I always try to stay open-minded, just because there's so much in this world we'll never understand, and I think it's arrogant to sit there and think we would ever know everything. Because even like everything that we know on a scientific level today, people were debating years ago. Like, so I try to keep an open mind about a lot of stuff, but I do honestly believe that like I think supernatural phenomena and things that we see or things that we feel eventually will have a name for, and I think can be proved eventually. And I truly believe, like, especially with like hauntings and stuff like that, I think I think it's probably like, another dimension. I think maybe there's like soft spots, and I think we're kind of getting a glimpse. And
interesting.
So, but I think that's where I think that's kind of closer to what it might be, especially because like whenever we're talking about, like, before we started, they were talking about different dimensions and how like they might have found proof of it, like the dimension that they think they found proof of moved backwards to against our own. So to me it makes perfect sense that maybe we're getting a glimpse into that backward moving.
So like
So that would mean there would be. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, so on the same vein of that, if you're thinking, it could be like a being, you think it would be solely humans that were getting in contact there, or does it go back to kind of like those coyotes that you were hearing that night? Like, do you think that could be like coyotes from another dimension kind of slipping through here and there?
I don't know, like, because we only went back one other time. Like, we only went back one other time, like, because we still cannot explain what the hell happened there. That's the only place we ever went to where we had no explanation. Like, we couldn't figure it out.
Okay. I have a thought.
What's that?
So I was on a run today, right? And then I sat down on a bench, I meditated, and this bird, as I was like breathing in, breathing out, slow, like 8 seconds, whatever. This bird, like I'm pretty sure it flew somewhere above my head, kind of a little bit far, maybe like 20 feet above. And I felt like a part of me and a part of it conjoined for a second, and that it took a piece of me and I took a piece of it. And I started to think about, like, maybe it's just in my head, right? But what if it's something that could happen? Like what you're talking about, right? Like you're saying that maybe an alien could conjoin with a soul and somehow, or we're witnessing an apparition and it's an alien species, or what if maybe even an animal we're interacting with it in some way and you're
Yeah,
not
like,
necessarily it, it's you.
I'm saying,
Something like
are the
that.
skinwalkers that? Are they that
Yeah.
dimensional being that are like going through one dimension to other dimension, ship shaping? Or if it's another thing, like another reality, right? Is that what we're
Yeah,
going?
I think it just, I think it depends on your school of thought on that, just because, like, I mean, skinwalkers are like deeply rooted in most Native American lore.
Yeah, they've been
Like
talking about for
there's,
centuries.
yeah, like in different tribes, even, so, I mean, could be, or, like if you believe in, if you believe that in the idea that emotion, like deep emotion, can leave an impact on a place, because, I mean, in a lot of cases, like sometimes, especially because like that was a side of a brutal, like not just a brutal war, but a brutal like massacre where we were, and we didn't know about it until after we had that experience and then left. we
So
like
it's
we
like
Googled it
timestamp.
after. Yeah, we talked about it like after, like like what if, I mean,
Situation at that time. That's crazy.
yeah, so you know could, it's just, I don't know.
Do you
I
think?
don't have
Do
all
you
the
think? Do you
answers.
think a spirit? Have you ever experienced a spirit or apparition or entity of any sort, energy, wrapped around an object? And
I can't say I have personally. No.
Oh, don't they have the like
Um,
dividend box, or what they call the it's like a, I forget what they're called. It's like a, I know it's in
yeah,
Jewish lore. It's like a box or
a
something
divot,
like that.
a
Yeah,
divot box.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's supposed to hold
Oh,
like,
those are scary.
that's supposed to hold
Yeah.
possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Oh, that freaked me
I
out,
mean,
man.
you
Sorry.
know,
what is it
And
called?
there's stuff with the jewelry also. Like they say,
Yeah,
like
those
if you
are
have jewelry, like put it under the moonlight for like a night or something like that. I know my mom does that. My mom's kind of a witchy lady, but
What is it called?
to like take like unpossess it. It's like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
called
yeah. I think it's
Diddy
yeah,
box, right? The Diddy
but,
box. What's it called?
like divot box. What?
Divik?
yeah. Is it Divid? Like
Divot.
David, but Divid.
David box.
David.
The David box.
Divot box.
Get yourself a
Um,
David box.
That explains the situations that have been happening around here.
Never.
But
Nothing comes up.
I've never experienced any like haunted objects, but also as a rule, I don't fuck with nothing, just in case.
Probably a good idea.
What about like possessions? Have anybody like ever been like feel like, oh my god, I feel like I've been possessed? Like, you
Do
know
you
what I
believe
mean?
in
Like, or
possession?
the energy came through.
So years and years before, um, thank you, David.
Yeah.
Oh,
So years and years before, we even started doing like paranormal investigations, like me and my best friend Eli, like we were always doing creepy shit. That's just who, like that's my right, like that's my best friend, and that's like my soulmate in so many different ways. Like,
That's awesome.
we like we always did stuff like that. Like we always, and people, when something always happened, people just knew to call us. And so I had a friend of
We
mine
David.
who I worked with. I'm not going to give her name on here, just because I don't, I don't know if she would want everybody, but I have a friend that I used to work with, and her cousin called me one night, like late at night, telling me there was something wrong with her and we needed to go over there and we need to pray. And I was like, what the I mean, this is a weird call to get at 3 a.m., but okay, I'm on my way.
Are you religious? Are you
oh, the
religious at all?
witching hour. Isn't that the witching hour at 3 a.m.? Like,
Yeah,
or
no,
is it
seriously,
3?
it is. And
Oh shit.
yeah, I'm not particularly religious. Like I'm not an
Well, you can get a
atheist,
good
but
prayer and
I don't do the church.
yeah,
I don't do the big C church. For a lot of reasons. Just
yeah, yeah.
because so I
Everyone
went there
does their
and
church their own way.
right. So but like mostly I was just like, that's my friend. What the hell's going on with her? I'm just worried about her. So we went
Yeah, naturally concerned.
and at the time I lived like in a rural area. I lived in a town called Cleburne. And just outside of Cleburne is a little town called Joshua. And that's where my friend lived. So we were driving out and it's like pitch black because she lives like out in the country. And like the closer we get to this house, it just feels weird. Like me and my best friend were just looking at each other like, this feels weird. Like what are we even doing? Like
You seem to step in those situations.
I know. It's like why? We don't even have to like I could have just said no. Like you could have said no. But I was just like, oh God, this feels weird. But we started driving, we just kept driving up, and the closer we got to the house, the weirder we just felt. And we get in there, and like my friend is just like people are around her, like praying in a circle, and she is just in the middle, and she's just throwing up. And
Oh, wow.
I was just like,
And it wasn't the food, right? It wasn't the food she ate.
no,
Yeah, Taco Bell.
Is that Taco Bell?
no. So apparently,
don't have that
I
today.
asked him, I was like, okay, I was like, why is she not in bed? Like, what's happening? And so her cousin, took me off to the side and said that she had been acting really weird, and she came home, and so like just kind of background on this girl, like she was always bubbly, happy, talkative, just all around good just good person, just never like, any, but she lived with her best friend and her best friend's kid. But like she came home from work that day and like just never, without saying a word and without just anything. She took the boy. She
Already
took the little kid.
zombified.
Yeah, kind of zombified. Yeah, and like took the little boy and was just standing out in the yard, staring
Very
for
bad
hours.
behavior.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
that's
very just. And then she said whenever she tried to get him in, and when she tried to they got the baby away from her. But when they tried to get her inside the house, like she was growling at them.
what?
You see
And
that like happens with like demon possession and stuff like
I
that.
growl sometimes. David does too.
yeah, and I was just like, I was just like, and me, me and my best friend were like, okay, that's that's kind of weird. Like, and you called us?
Maybe
Like,
she was the coyote at the other place.
And you sure it wasn't the Taco Bell?
right?
John's very concerned about that.
Very
That just
concerned,
makes it.
but like, I mean, everybody was just sitting around her, just praying and praying and praying, and they were begging us to pray too. But I mean, me and Eli just we're not prayers. But we're like, okay, like we just wanted to make sure she was okay. But we ended up going home that night, and it was just like the weirdest thing I'd ever been a part of. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. The whole room was I remember it just being hot, and I remember it feeling weird, and I remember it was just kind of like one of those like, like you ever feel like you've ever been in a room and you need a bath from being,
Oh yeah. I've been to lots of concerts.
from just like the energy. Yeah, like you're just like, oh, like that was so weird. So, and there was another one of those things that we just couldn't really explain. But
Wow.
so like the following
So it
week,
sounds like you deal with a lot of different energies. You pick up very strange vibes and energies off of most of these places that you've seen and investigated.
Yeah, because I was gonna mention that it seems like every situation is always like, because I was even gonna ask, like, has anything ever like followed you home? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, or like, oh my God, I'm getting like, it feels that energy. You know what I mean?
Well, and here's what happened like after this whole situation. So I was living with my friend Eli and their husband and kids. And at the time, because like their kids are my godchildren, and at the time, they were 6 and 1. At the time, they were very little, and I slept on the couch at the time, and so that night we got home, or early that morning we got home, went to bed, and so like I slept like in the living room, and like the TV of course was right in front of me, and then right next to the TV was like this kind of really flimsy, really crappy DVD holder. Like if you picture in your mind, I'm sure you can see it. Like it was like one of those that like if you barely touch it, all the DVDs will fall over.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We've had a few of those.
Like, yeah, I was about to say every crappy apartment had one at one point.
Oh yeah, in my crappy apartment we had one that spinned, and every time you
nice.
couldn't
Oh,
really
they had
spin
the
it,
CD towers.
you're
that,
like you're trying to,
man.
because it would get hard eventually. You're like, oh god,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I woke up and apparently, like, I guess at some point, like, the DVD holder had turned itself around completely. Like, it was now facing the wall. And I'm telling you, it was one of those like really like, like if you barely touched it, it fell over. Like we always had to pick up DVDs from this stupid thing. Like, it was the worst DVD player like holder or worst DVD holder ever.
But Allie, what do you think made it want to mess with your DVD player? Did it not like the DVDs, or was it the
Bad taste
DVDs?
in movies?
probably like hated our shitty taste in movies, I
Stop
guess.
it.
I don't
Stop
know.
it. No, but what if it was like an element in the DVD itself, the laser disc?
I think a lot of times they're just trying to be seen.
I'm just saying,
be
man,
noticed.
Yeah, but
It could have been like a bad movie in there or something.
No, it's
Could
not
have
that. It's the elements in the disc itself.
but
So like the particle got on the disc, and that's like, oh, that's a haunted particle right there.
Do you think
Right.
that's possible? Do you think that's possible? Like extracting cobalt from the earth could unleash ancient beings? Is that a possibility?
you kind of lost me there, hon. I don't
No,
have
I don't
no.
know. That's well, that's kind of. I mean,
Are
it's
they
similar.
mining ancient beings? Is what James wants to
Let me
know.
break it down what Dave's trying to say. He's saying that the cobalt that was mined to make that DVD could be implanted in the
DVDs are made out of cobalt.
Ali,
So he's like,
what is your favorite horror movie?
My favorite horror movie?
Yeah, or just scary movies in general. I guess it could deal with ghosts or could it?
I don't know. Usually the gorier the better. Or I like a good thinker sometimes. Like right now, like if I had to say I had a favorite right now, my favorite is Midsummer. But I don't know if that's really
I haven't seen
scary movie as it is. Like
I haven't seen it, but I've
Yeah.
heard crazy things
good
about
one.
it's just really well done.
You know what
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know
do?
if it.
I want to do that thing with David. I want to get one of my pubes and put it in a little cupcake and have him without him knowing. You know?
I haven't seen
But
it
like
yet.
that's like an actual like
That just
thing,
sounds
like
like a
with like
threat.
chaos magic and stuff.
Is
Yeah,
it?
like-
Is
Oh
it?
no,
Tell-
wait, that's actually real. You think that's a real spell?
No, that is a real spell.
One way to find out.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like mixing like not just your computers and stuff like that, but like menstrual blood, and yeah, like most spells involve like urine or menstrual blood or
natural
All the good ones
parts.
do, at least.
Natural
a
parts.
lot
Yeah,
of fun
natural.
things. But
Allie,
Um,
did you ever see Wicker Man, the original 70s one?
I have not seen the original 70s one, but I am sad to say, but I have of
Nick
course seen the
Cage?
Nicolas Cage one.
Oh, that one's good
Which
too. The
I
bees.
quote at least, the base. Like, but me and my best friend Eli, the one I have all of these adventures with, we used to have like these like days, like once every few months, where we try to find the absolute worst movies, if it's banned, better, like that we could possibly find and watch them. Like
Did you ever watch a
when-
Serbian film? A Serbian
I'm
film?
sorry?
Did you
Yes,
ever watch a
that
Serbian-
one. That's the only
Disgusting.
film. Yeah, that's the only film I've never been able to sit through.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
It
one
is
of the
awful.
films always like, oh my god. But it's just
Yeah, like
it's such an underground thing, but I wouldn't watch
uh-huh.
it. Like, it was just like
I would
oh.
never watch it again. That's for sure. But like, I mean, because that's how we found, of course, the Human Centipede. Which actually I tricked Eli into watching by himself. Which, because like I was like, oh hey Eli, you gotta watch this movie. It's called The Human Centipede. It's awesome. And he's like, oh okay. Is it one of those that I could watch by myself? And I'm like, yeah, you can watch by yourself. And he's just like, I remember like getting a phone call, and he's like, I'm so mad. But like, you know, what is it like? Is it 100 Days of Sodom or 1,000 Days of Sodom? That was another one that we watched.
Yeah,
Like,
that one's tough.
Martyrs. Martyrs is good. Martyrs is deeply fucked up, but it is really, really good. It's one of those movies that's not just gore for gore's sake. It's actually good.
Her Heredity is crazy too, right?
You gotta write that
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, I like Heredity.
And I think there's a new movie by that same director. I forgot what it was.
You ever seen The Begotten?
Begotten. I have
The
not, actually.
Begotten. That one's good. That's a good
Is
one.
it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's ancient in a way. It's done in like overexposed, underexposed, so it's very artsy, but it's pretty morbid
Is it
and
like-
tough to watch.
Is it like artsy, like Suspiria artsy, or?
It came out in 1990, 91 maybe. The guy who directed it ended up directing Marilyn Manson, Jesus Christ Superstar, right? Am I saying that right? Antichrist
Oh, really?
Superstar, right, Vince? That one. And he did the movie with John Malkovich, Shadow of the Vampire, the same guy.
Oh,
But that was his
Okay.
that
I
was
love that
his
movie.
film.
That's a good one.
The Begotten. That was like just his. And it's like God disembowels himself and all this very interesting.
All right.
Uh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
That
Very
would
I mean
definitely
that's yeah, isn't that a lot of olden including Christian, right? The tortured God, right? That's part of
Yeah.
a lot of folklore.
Yeah. Particularly like if I don't know, I just like particularly with like, you know, like old school Catholicism, like the tortured, you know, the tortured, you know, follower.
Oh, the Inquisition and that whole fun time.
Oh yeah, good times.
Well, I mean, even
But-
Odin,
is it
right?
this one?
On the hanging.
Begotten?
I mean, it's all there. It is. There it is. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating to watch.
All right, I'll have to definitely check that one out. I don't know, like so we always just try to outdo ourselves and see like just watch as many messed up movies as we possibly could, see if we can make ourselves like throw up or just, you know.
oh, that's the
But
best.
oh yeah. I mean that's how like I saw like Cannibal Holocaust the first time.
Oh wow.
You know, and stuff like that. So like we would just I'm pretty just like I don't know. I don't want to say I'm desensitized to horror, but like I like if it's gory as shit, I am down. Like
Well,
You also do true crime, right?
yes,
Oh.
I'm a huge true crime person. Yes. That's actually what I didn't go to college for true crime. I actually went for criminology.
I didn't know that was a class.
and
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Criminology for us.
Mhm. So, yeah. Um
But what does
like-
true crime consist of? Like is it you go to like crime scenes and is that where you?
I don't. Yeah, no. I just study a lot of true crime. I've never been in any crime scenes or anything like that.
Oh.
Like I wanted to be
That'd be
like
cool.
I don't use my degree at all.
That's true.
I was
The
looking
for
first,
movies
the first
The whole
true,
time
the
to
first
talk
true,
about Marianne. That's a scary movie right there. It's on
Oh,
Netflix.
nice.
first true crime
On
novel
Netflix.
ever.
It's about
Oh, yeah.
witchcraft.
My favorite true crime novel is called it's actually part of a quote from Nietzsche, but it's like Whoever Fights Monsters. It's yeah, it's by I have to actually dig it out. It's in my room, but it's written by John Ressler. He was one of the founders of the behavioral science units at the FBI. Like Mindhunters, the older guy in Mindhunters, that's who that's based off of.
Yeah.
Is John Ressler. He's one of the founders of the behavioral science unit. Like he's talked to like all of them. Like it's basically about all of his interviews with different serial killers. And also talking about like everything he went through building up the unit and things like that.
I was listening
imagine his
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and a person they were interviewing on it, they were saying how they're really into true crime and they'll watch anything true crime. And she was saying that she happened to be on an airplane one day, and she got seated right next to him while she was reading one of the books.
Really?
Yeah, who you're.
Oh my god!
Exactly who you're talking about. So she's like, and I just freaked out, you know, like.
Yeah, because like originally, like I wanted to be Clarice Starling when I grew up. Like that's like whenever I say I was a creepy kid, I was a creepy kid. Like I was.
Well, that's who Scully's based off of, right? In the X-Files.
I'm sorry.
I'm not too sure.
Isn't that who Scully's based off of the X-Files?
Yeah.
Scully.
Yeah. So you know the X-Files.
Yeah,
Scully.
I understand.
What's her name?
Based off of Clarice Starling.
Yeah, Julian Anderson, right? Is that her? Yeah. She's supposed to be based off of the detective from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. In fact, like they talk about that because like the author of Silence of the Lambs hung out with John Ressler and all them. So like he was actually talking, like there's like a whole chapter of him talking about the author doing a lot of research at the BSU. So like for that role.
Have you seen A Crowded Room?
A Crowded Room.
Yeah, it's a show on Apple
TV.
Oh yeah, I was about to say if it's on Apple, then I haven't seen it. We don't have Apple.
It's pretty good, but it's kind of about multiple personalities. Have you heard any cases like that? Because in it, like it's pretty much is he responsible for a crime if he didn't commit it? One of his personalities did. You know, like
yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well,
it takes place in like the 70s too, so it's like I guess like one of the first cases kind of like started up like that.
That's up to the lawyers.
The lawyers fight.
That's for the lawyers. That's not for Allie's jurisdiction. Allie's jurisdiction is more in the things that are not physical, right? Physical.
Right.
Well, wait, hold on. Speaking of physical evidence, is there physical evidence outside of like readings on a meter? Like this might sound funny, but ectoplasm or things like that, like where there's like some sort of physical manifestations of residue.
I would never discount it. Again, not something I've ever experienced. I know some people have, some people haven't. You know, like I said, I try to keep an open mind. Just because I personally haven't experienced it doesn't, you know, I'm not going to sit there and say it doesn't, you know?
Sure.
Just because, like, you know, I don't know everything, you know, but now.
I thought you were the guest who knows everything, though.
What about stigmata? This is maybe different, but have you ever heard of that or seen anything like that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't believe in it. But I mean, I find the cases very interesting, but I'm really skeptical about that.
On a Freudian level, I think it could exist. Like someone could be so tortured and believe in something so immense that they could self-inflict on a mind-body level. I think things like that could exist.
Well, yeah, I get that for sure. Like, you know, like that one case in England of, you know, that was possession. They made they made a Conjuring movie out of it about this little girl who,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but honestly, they think like maybe like it's like I know particularly with things like that, like especially about little can't remember what it's called, but like it's sometimes things tend to follow, especially like girls, pubescent girls when they're going through, like
Puberty?
puberty. Like sometimes like there's so much emotion, there's so much mentally that's going on that sometimes that's usually when sometimes people do experience things, like they experience possessions or things like that. Like they think that might have been the case with that little girl.
I wonder if
it
there's
was
like
just
some type of
her
medium.
hormones maybe going out of whack.
I'm sorry.
That maybe it was just her hormones, or
Yeah. And it could have just been like a whole like I don't want to say like hysteria, like mass hysteria, but could have been. I mean,
well,
but
like possession. Well, we were talking about like possession earlier. Like do you believe in like demon possession?
Like, is there demons out there that could actually possess?
Yeah, do you believe in demons? Pretty much is what I'm getting at.
Like after seeing what's out
We were talking about something
everything
like
was
that
out there.
earlier.
Like I'm not quite sure. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say like that I know off the top of my head. No, there's no demons, or no, there's not this. But like I do believe that could be something. I mean,
There's some weird shit out there.
there's some weird shit out there we don't know. We don't know everything, and especially like if my theory is true and it is something like like if we're hitting like another dimension or anything like that, it could be something from another dimension. Like I mean,
Well,
I'm not an expert on anything. Like
yeah,
I'm not
I know. We're just talking.
well, you were talking about earlier. You were mentioning a color. You were saying purple and yellow, I think, and different things. And I was wondering about that.
Okay, so we did like a lot of stuff with like like what we called like mono wavelength photography. And basically, I would shine a color in the dark and take photographs. Like so, most of the colors we used were red or blue or anything like that. So that way, because like a lot of times people see dust and they think it's an orb. So we were trying to like kind of isolate it. So that way, like, if I was taking photographs in the dark and all of the orbs were red, well, then we know that that's dust because it's not producing its own light. But there's been a few photos that I have taken where we saw like, like the little orbs weren't red. They were like a totally different color. They were like orbs of light. And we know we didn't, like we didn't make that happen. Like, so we kind of like flagged those, so we try to do that to kind of separate out like, okay, is it an orb that is making its own light or is it dust? So we use that kind of photography to kind of like separate that too. So we're not just, calling everything, we're trying to like narrow everything down.
Yeah,
So
that's actually cool because you're trying to disprove it at the same time, and it's like, okay, this is I can't disprove this,
yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time,
Purple.
but do you have like a favorite like cryptic, like how you're a Bigfoot fan, Loch Ness Monster? I mean, any local cryptics or?
I am a huge fan of the Mothman. Like I love the Mothman.
I love the Mothman story. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I love
especially like since it's an old monster too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big Mothman person, so yeah, that's probably if I had a favorite cryptid, it'd probably be that one.
What about you, David?
Which one am I interested in?
What's your favorite?
I don't know.
What?
Like,
you don't have a favorite? You don't go like Loch Ness Monster?
You say Frankenstein.
I'm curious about the Loch Ness Monster lately. Like I brought that up before.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't
He's been
heard
missing.
anything. I feel like that's like it's just debunked. Did it die? And nobody
Maybe he
sees it
went
again?
extinct. So
Yeah.
you show a natural uh concern for Loch Ness monster. So we'll put you under Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
James.
Oh, me? I mean, I don't know. I like Mothman is interesting. I saw that movie, but Mothman Prophecy is what I
Gere.
think about. And I like Richard Gere. He's a fascinating actor, but I think I do like Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot's interesting. I think and also maybe something deep aquatic, something in the ocean, but I don't know what. So I'll just stick with Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. John, what about you, man?
For me, I think cryptic. I want to say like I always see everywhere I go. I see like this guy Cthulhu. It's like this big. It's like with like it looks like a sea beast too. The kind of like so,
Yeah, South Park did a pretty good one.
You know, so that's always something cryptic. It's kind of magical. Is it real H.P. Lovecraft? You know what I mean? Can you actually summon it or not? I don't know, but I'll put something on like to see what it actually is.
Gotcha. For me, it's the aliens, you know, because I think it's like almost real, you know. And
They're not cryptids. They're real. They're real dids.
Until we see
they're
them.
real dids.
until we see them, the real dids. Not I love that word again.
I believe the term is non-human biologics now.
There we go.
I know.
Yeah,
We gotta be correct on
that was coined this year.
Yeah. I don't know. Like
Okay.
I've always believed in aliens because like
I have to.
there's too much. I mean, the universe is infinite and we're the only people. Like, come on. Like
right? Yeah.
Come on.
Then I'll go with Santa Claus.
Nice.
David. Okay, David. Planet of the Apes, right? That one with Mark Wahlberg. You know what I'm talking about? Right?
Yeah,
where he comes back
the
in
best
time.
one. The best one, right?
That's what basically we're looking at here. Aliens and all that stuff. It's all coming back to us, guys.
It was Earth the whole time. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Allie.
Before you go,
thank you.
Yeah, before you go, where can people find you? And like, do you have like a social media you want to put out or anything like that?
They could check out your past investigations or things of that
Yeah,
sort.
you can look on all of our past investigations. Unfortunately, we don't do anything anymore. Just because the kind of life got in the way after the pandemic, and you know, then I just, you know, about a couple months ago popped out a kid. So,
congratulations! Awesome.
Thank you.
I have a few myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you can check us out at NT Paranormal. You know, we're on YouTube. I think you can also actually find us on Amazon. We have a book called NT Paranormal After Dark, which you can also check out on Amazon. And then, yeah, but that's usually where you find us on YouTube. Check us out if you're still interested, you know, just in some of our old stuff. I think we do have some video of the Kyle, Texas, but most of it we just kind of decided we don't go back there.
We investigated all we needed to over there, so
yeah, we're like, no, they're cool. Like, we'll just leave them alone. But yeah,
awesome.
So just but yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All right, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye. Nice meeting you guys.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Oh, and stay tuned for local neighborhood business.